Welcome everyone to my full single-party Wizardry 6 through 8 expert playthrough. I turned my attention back to this game during the pandemic for nostalgic reasons, and I enjoyed it even more than when I played it in my youth. As part of the playthrough, I discovered many great resources that have survived the years and several single game playthroughs on YouTube. However, I did not see any video series that included taking a Wizardry 6 party all the way through to the end of Wizardry 8. I had so much fun that I decided to spend some time recording another playthrough for my own posterity and entertainment of others. I would also like to give a shout out to GOG for keeping old games like this alive. Now, in the process of this most recent playthrough, I also applied the analytical skills that I've developed in adulthood to beat the game on the highest difficulty level, which I was certainly not capable of in my youth. So through research and experimentation, I have come up with what I believe to be the optimal strategy, which you see before you. I'll explain that in a minute. The specific character races could be modified to suit your individual tastes, but it may create unnecessary hurdles when multi-classing. However, I am confident that my roadmap for final classes and equipment loadout for each game is the best possible without cheating. I will not be using any save game editors, in-memory editors, or add-ons throughout this playthrough. However, I will be taking advantage of one exploit bug, maybe, at the very end of Wizardry 6 that permits obtaining multiple diamond rings. I will also be making extensive use of save scumming to ensure that the random level up attribute rolls go to the stats I need them to for my strategy to work properly. If you follow my footsteps and don't want to go through the extra effort of save scumming, feel free to use a save game editor only to increase your attributes after reaching level 7 or level 8, as you prefer. Each time you switch classes, the attribute values reset anyways, so you'll encounter the same level of difficulty without the frustration of constantly fighting the RNG. So, I have documented the strategy I'll be following throughout this playthrough in an Excel file with a tab for each game. What you see before you is the Wizardry 6 tab, and I'll cover that now. The other tabs will be covered at the beginning of their respective game series. So, talking through this now, on the left-hand side, you can see the starting character attributes for class, race, and gender that I use in all my calculations. Below it, the party I have chosen to use during this playthrough. So first, I need all characters to be female to take advantage of the Diamond Ring exploit. This creates an interesting quandary in Wizardry 8, but I will explain that much later once I reach that game. The races were chosen to optimize the versatility of each character during multiclassing, while also optimizing the bonuses for the final classes to the extent possible. Now you can try select other races in your playthrough, but again, as I stated before, in my testing, this appears to be the optimal solution. The starting classes serve the dual purpose of A, beginning in a class that is both difficult to reach during normal attribute level ups that also provides important skills, and B, providing equipment that is rare or does not exist early in the game of Wizardry 6. So this strategy requires that you spend quite a bit of time performing character roles before the game even starts. But let me assure you that this extra effort is quite helpful in the long run. So moving to the right, you can see a bunch of columns and sections divided up for the 6 characters. So this is the multi-classing path for each character. The goal was for each character to end the game with ninjutsu, kirajitsu, and all 4 magic schools. Ending Wizardry 6 in this manner greatly simplifies the strategy for Wizardry 7. The sections highlighted in yellow are where the character will loop between 2 classes with the intent of getting all the important skills to 100. So you should switch classes at level 7 and only going to level 8 if absolutely necessary. Each level up also increases total hit points and mana slightly, making your entire party more survivable in the long run. I was able to achieve my goal in all but a single case. Attempting to send the Felper through a theology class proved to be too difficult, but they still could get heal wounds through alchemy, so it wasn't a huge loss specifically for Wizardry 6. One area that I want to focus on is the diff from previous line, which you'll see all over the place. This calculates the difference between where the character will reset to after the previous class change, which is the line above it, and the value that must be reached to change the next class, which is the line below it. In general, an individual value of 1 or 2 in any given attribute, and a total of 7 or less is achievable without significant save scumming. An individual value of 3 is risky, but still possible. Anything 4 or above typically is not conducive, or requires an artifact to help you get there. I don't know this to be true, but it appeared to me that the further away from the base stat the attribute reaches, the less likely it was to be chosen randomly for incrementing on level up. That is another way of saying that if you have a bunch of these stats that hit everyone but you need, it seems that the one that you're waiting on, will catch up sooner rather than later. Also remember that every time you get a level up, there's a small chance for a 2-point level up, an even smaller chance for a 3-point level up, an even smaller chance for a 4-point level up, and so on and so forth. I've never seen more than a 6 attribute level up, but I don't know what the limit is. Well, actually, the limit is all 7, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, so I've never seen all 7, but I have seen 6. So moving further to the right, these are the items and equipment loadouts I am shooting for at early, late, and post-game. Post-game is very important in Wizardry for transferring over. So I want to bring special attention to the mid-game items with a double asterisk. So Heater Shield, Plate Mail, Plate Gravier, and Solar Ray. These can be taken into Wizardry 7 without penalty and are better than any other freely transferable gear you can buy from a vendor. Therefore, do not sell them under any circumstances, and I recommend save scumming if you get duplicates, because you really want the full set. Now, if you get if you get the full set and you have a chance for more, definitely try to get another Heater Shield. But if not, taking a round shield in is fine. Round shield is arguably better because the Rangers can use the round shield in Wizardry 7. So there's something there. So the other thing is, if an item is not in the late game section or is not in the transfer prep section, feel free to get rid of it and free up some inventory space. It's no longer useful to you. So specifically talking about the transfer prep section, you can see there's some blue highlighted items and some green highlighted items, in addition to single asterisk items. So those items highlighted in blue are the top tier items that each character must have equipped to transfer into Wizardry 7. You can only transfer a single tier 3 or tier 4 item, with a few exceptions such as the diamond ring, and transferring a tier 4 weapon is the most optimal option. Everything else in the transfer prep list can be purchased from a vendor that doesn't have a asterisk next to it. So the final sections to focus on are the money transfer, skill focus, and important spells, which are down below here. If you happen to get any drops listed here throughout the game and don't end up using them or need to sell them for cash, they can be taken forward freely into Wizardry 7. In general, I cash out prior to the end of the game to make room in my bag for transferable equipment, and then buy all the heavy heal and resurrection potions I can from the endgame vendor after selling off my Uber gear, which I can't take with me anyways. So after you have raised your character skills in Ninjutsu, Kirajitsu, and the 4 magic schools, which like I said are the most relevant, or the most important, and then your relevant weapon skill, which is probably going to raise to 100 on its own, then these are the next ones to bring forward or to focus on. So I got 2 characters of Skullduggery. Really, you could just have one, but just in case one of them is getting more points than the other one. Skullduggery is very important to take into Wizardry 7 if you can do it. Otherwise, Knock Knock works okay. The Mythology specifically does not transfer, so there's no point in putting points into it. Scribe, Artifact, Scouting, and Legerdemain all transfer. Legerdemain you can do without. I mean, that's for stealing, so if you don't ever plan on stealing, then you don't have to focus on that, but it's up to you. And finally, when selecting spells during level up, the spells to select first are listed here. These are the most important ones that you will definitely use throughout the game. In general, though, because we're going to be doing a lot of leveling up at a very specific point fairly early in the game, you're going to get all these spells right off the bat, so you don't really have to worry about which ones to choose, except for getting Nuclear Blast as soon as possible. And then on the very right-hand side here, the item locations are where you can purchase various things and where they're available. So we're going to start the game as a bard, so you're going to get a loot. Do not sell that. All of these items can be purchased from Queequeg, which most of them are going to be shown here in the early game, so you know what to purchase and what not to purchase. These 4 items with the double asterisks, you will most likely want to get from chests, because you can just save scum chests until you get exactly what you want, but you can also get them as drops from minor dwarves. Then the late game vendor, not the end game vendor, but the late game vendor, Mylai, has stuff that you will want to come back to and get to take with you to the next game, as well as some stuff you want to take with you into the end game, I should say. So you'll visit her twice, first to gear up for the end game, and then again to gear up for the post game for transfer. Resurrection and the Rod of Sprites. The Rod of Sprites is very important to take into Wizardry 7. You can't use it in Wizardry 6, so you don't have to have it equipped, but it's basically the best weapon you can get for fairies, almost until you get Cane of Corpus. Fairy ninjas, that is. And then the resurrection potions and heavy heals. Actually, I should have put that here. So heavy heals also is here. And every time you spawn the Queen of Fairies, you're going to get a chance to buy 3 heavy heals and 1 resurrection. You just buy those, close out, respawn her, you get 3 more. So if you count up those numbers, you'll be able to get 600 heavy heals and 300 resurrections. And at that point, you are so set for Wizardry 7, you'll be absolutely fine. If you don't have that much money, getting 50 of everything, so 300 total heavy heals and 150 total resurrections, perfectly fine. You'll still be set. I had plenty of money, so that's how much I was able to get. These single asterisk ones are, in general, you only get 1 of. And here's who you get them from. The diamond ring is the only special one in that. That's a repeatable through a bug. Now you'll also notice here I've got these alternates. So if you want to spend some time trying to grind for the super weapons, you can certainly do that. My playthrough had me trying to do that for about 3 hours. I didn't get either one of them, but during that grinding I was also going for ninja gear. So as soon as you have your ninja gear, if you feel like you want to grind some more for Zatachi Bow and Diamond Eyes, go for it. But if not, it's not a big deal. I could actually argue that the Spear of Death and the Cat of Nine Tails is more useful at the early and mid game of Wizardry 7 than having the Zatachi Bow and the Diamond Eyes is. Which you're going to be able to get those late in Wizardry 7 anyways. And then finally, the gear that you definitely want to have purchased for post-game is shown down here. So this is gear you're going to want to purchase for end-game, and this is gear that you're going to want to purchase for post-game. Alright, so hopefully this explains a little bit of what I'm doing. Basically, starting class for everyone, the skill you want to focus on, the next class progression, which would get you through all the major skills, so you learn all of the magic schools, then ping-ponging through multi-classing back and forth, so you can get all your skills to 100, and then finally your final class that we would take, to finish the game with. So I'm going to start with a fairy monk, a Felper ninja, a dwarf Valkyrie, a raw wolf monk, a mook bard, and an elf ninja, and finish the game as a fairy ninja, a Felper samurai, a dwarf monk, a raw wolf Valkyrie, a mook Valkyrie, and an elf Valkyrie. And that's the characters I would take into Wizardry 7. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of idea of how I'm going to be following along. So as you hear during the videos of let me check my documentation, this is what I'm looking at. Hope you enjoy the entire video series. I sure had fun making it. Thanks for watching.